my name is Angela from Go to Outsource, and today I'm going to talk to you about the 5 steps to getting a successful return on investment on your outsourcing. So the 5 steps, step number 1 is clarity. Step number 2 is recruiting well in the first place. Step number 3 is setting expectations. Step number 4 is clear communication and excellent systems. And step number 5 is tracking and transparency. So getting back to step number 1, clarity. So what you have to be clear on is what the person is going to be doing for you, what skills the person requires, and what the job description is. So you've got to be really clear about what you're offloading from either your plate or your team member's plate. So clarity is really important because the recruit is really dependent on really being clear about what skills you need. Step number 2 is recruiting well, or getting the right person for the job in the first place. So recruiting is a big topic in and of itself, and I can't go into it in too much detail here, but what I really need to stress in the recruitment is that it's very much a skill set, and as a business owner, you either need to delegate that to a very skilled person that knows how to vet well, write good job descriptions, interview well, give a test job so that you can actually really see as much as possible before you hire someone what their skills are, and you're actually putting the person through a lot of testing in the whole process. So you're testing for their reliability, you're testing for their skills, you're testing for their communication, you're testing all that in the vetting process. And so you need someone that knows what they're doing, and you can learn that as well. So step number 3 is setting expectations. So once you've actually found a good person, you really need to set the expectations up right from the beginning about how this working relationship is going to run. And you've got to be very consistent in making sure that this happens. So what I mean by that is, for example, you'll give them a job offer. The job offer will specify their pay, it'll specify their hours of when they're going to be working for you. And then you need to specify things like you'll require them to use a time tracker to track all their time. And you need to set expectations such as how you want things done, how you want the working relationship to run. So for example, just to give you an example, one thing is that you don't want your virtual assistant or your team member not having anything to do. So what you've got to set the expectation that I don't want you sitting, if you've run out of a job and you don't have another one, I don't want you just sitting around. I want you to let me know. And even better than that is when you actually set the relationship up in the first place, you create what's called an evergreen job or an evergreen task that never really ends. So it could be a data mining job, it could be, putting names together, it could be working on your fetching images or your social media, or there's some evergreen job that whenever they've run out of a task or done the task and they're waiting for you, that they can just fall back on something to do. So then they're always productive. So that's setting expectations. Now, step number 4 is clear communication and excellent systems. So how you communicate and maintain the relationship is really important to getting a return on investment. So it's about also what you give them in the first place in order to learn the job. So how to set up excellent systems. What I do is I go on Skype screen share a lot, and at the same time I'll record the session so that they've been live on the session of me explaining something, and then they've got that video which I upload, which they can then go and watch again. So if something's not clear, they can watch that again and again. So they're not depending on me to actually teach them the same job again. So I've recorded it once, and that becomes my training system. And so the clear communication is also about how much time a job is going to take. So say to your team member, for example, this is the job I want you to do, but this should take no longer than 2 hours or 3 hours. And especially in the beginning of the working relationship, get them to come back to you after 3 hours and assess what's been done so that they're clear and you're clear about the parameters, and you need to follow up on these parameters. So there's a lot more to this, but this is just touching on the points. Now, the fifth step to getting a return on investment on your productivity of the team member is tracking and transparency. What I mean by that is the Google Docs system allows you to share spreadsheets and Google Docs Word documents in real time. So set them up so that everything they're working on for you is done in documents where you can actually check in real time what they're doing. So that's what transparency means. So obviously if they're working inside of any software, so any CRM software, bookkeeping software such as Xero, it's all on the cloud. So there's transparency anyway, so you can actually check in real time what they're doing. And then tracking is all about, these are your expectations for this job. I expect 100 names each day, or I expect 100 phone calls, or 80 phone calls, or 40 phone calls, so that at the end of the day, when they report to you what's been done, you can benchmark that against what you've set as your key performance indicator. And then you can check that. So you know that their productivity is down. If you're expecting 60 phone calls a day and they're only making 40, well then that's where you can do some work and do some investigation to find out how come that target hasn't been met and what's going wrong. So the transparency is all about the documents, so that you don't have to be emailing documents back and forth every time. So you can just go in anytime you like and check what's being done. And then the tracking is all about giving them some numbers and measures so that they can track their own productivity as well. So in summing up, there are 5 steps to getting a successful return on investment on your outsourcing. So step number 1 is clarity. Step number 2 is recruiting well in the first place, so recruiting the person with the right skills and the right attitude. Step number 3 is setting expectations. Step number 4 is clear communication and excellent systems. And step number 5 is tracking and transparency. So I hope you got a lot out of that. Let me know if you have any questions, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.